My name's Ethan Cole. I'm 42 years old, live just outside Chicago, and I work in logistics for a medical supply company. Been doing it for over a decade now. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and gives me structure. Routine. I've always been a routine guy. Wake up at 6. Gym twice a week. Microwave oatmeal, black coffee. In bed by 10. If you asked anyone who knows me, they'd probably say I'm the dependable type. Maybe a little boring, but solid. I've been married to Melissa for 9 years. We met at a friend's birthday dinner back in 2012. One of those setups neither of us wanted to be part of. I remember she wore this green dress with tiny white flowers. I told her it looked like a wallpaper my grandmother used to have, and for some reason, she laughed instead of getting offended. That was it. We clicked. Fast forward a few months, we moved in together. Fast forward a few more. We set our vows in a backyard with string lights and acoustic guitars and promises we thought would last forever. Melissa's nothing like me. She's a creative and art director at a big consumer brand. The kind of person who thrives in chaos. She keeps notebooks full of messy doodles and quotes from books she never finishes. She likes sushi at midnight, wakes up late on weekends, wears mismatched socks on purpose. I used to love how different we were. She brought color into my neatly organized life. I think she liked that I was stable. Unshakable, she called me once. Said I was the anchor to her storm. Lately, though, I've started to wonder if maybe the anchor got too heavy. Started small. The changes. 6 months ago, maybe more. Little things I chalked up to stress. She stopped asking me about my day. Started going to bed later. Her phone was always in her hand, even in the bathroom, even in the shower, which, yeah, I know we all scroll too much, but Melissa used to leave hers charging on the kitchen counter for hours. Now, always with her. Always screen down. Always on silent. Still, I didn't question it. I trusted her. I really did. Blindly, maybe, but that's what love does, right? It makes you give the benefit of the doubt, even when something inside you whispers otherwise. Then came last Tuesday. It wasn't anything planned. I had a light morning at work and thought I'd surprise her for lunch. Nothing major, just something spontaneous. A quick bite near her office. She works downtown. Fancy glass tower with valet parking and a lobby that smells like citrus and money. I hadn't been there since the company holiday party last December, but I remembered how proud she looked that night introducing me around. Her hand in mine like she still meant it. So I parked, checked in at the front desk, and told the security guy I was there to see my wife. At first, he asked if I had a visitor's pass, but then he recognized me and waved me through with a friendly smile. "Mr. Cole, right? From the Christmas thing? Go ahead. I'll buzz you up." 7th floor. Creative department. Bright colors. Abstract paintings. Minimalist furniture with names I can't pronounce. As soon as the elevator doors opened, I saw her. She was standing near the office coffee station, just behind a frosted glass divider, laughing with a man I didn't recognize. He was close. Too close. Tall guy, maybe early 40s. Tailored blazer, those polished leather shoes you don't buy unless you make 6 figures and want everyone to know it. His body language wasn't subtle. Leaning in, head tilted toward hers, like whatever he was saying was private and funny and just for her. And the way she laughed. Not polite, not professional. It was soft and open and familiar. Her hand rested on his arm, barely, but it stayed there. Long enough for me to feel it in my chest. I stood there, frozen for a second, watching them. Then I knocked. Hard enough to make them both look up. Melissa turned, and I swear to God, the look on her face could have stopped time. She jumped like she'd touched an electric wire. Her expression twisted into something between shock and fear, like a kid caught sneaking out of the house at midnight. "You're here?" she said, blinking. "I thought I'd surprise you," I said, keeping my voice light. "Lunch?" Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Right? Yeah. Wow. I didn't know you were coming today." She looked nervous, like she was mentally flipping through excuses. She turned toward the man beside her. "Ethan, this is Alex. He's my boss. We were just going over the pitch for the Baxter campaign." Alex extended his hand. Smooth, confident. "Pleasure to meet you. Melissa's talked about you." I shook it. His grip was firm. His smile was smug. The kind of smile you see on guys who are used to getting what they want and don't feel the need to hide it. She's been a rock star lately, he added, putting in a lot of extra hours. Yeah, I said, looking at her. I've noticed. She shifted her weight, looked at her feet. We were about to head into a meeting, she said quickly. But maybe we can do dinner tonight instead? I'll make something nice. Sure, I said. Dinner sounds good. I left without saying much else. Walked back to the elevator. Rode it down to the lobby with a stomach full of questions I couldn't answer. And that's when it started. The doubt. It didn't hit all at once, it trickled in. Like a leak you barely notice until it's soaked through the floorboards. I kept thinking about the way she looked when she saw me. Not happy. Not surprised in a good way. She looked cornered. Like I wasn't supposed to see what I saw. And Alex? His whole vibe rubbed me the wrong way. Too polished. Too familiar. Like he wasn't worried about being caught because he didn't think he was doing anything wrong. Or maybe because he didn't think he had to hide anymore. I replayed the scene over and over in my head that whole afternoon. The hand on the arm, the whispering, the flinch. All of it felt wrong. I know what people will say, that I'm overthinking, that I should have trusted her. Maybe I should have. But something changed in me that day. Something I couldn't unsee. Because here's the thing. You don't forget the moment your marriage shifts. The exact second when what used to feel like home suddenly feels like a house with the lights off. Melissa used to be my safe place. My constant. But that day, in that office, I felt like a stranger walking in on someone else's life. And worst of all, she looked like she wanted me to leave. I didn't go back to work after that visit. I told my assistant I had a headache and needed the rest of the day off. That was only half true. The headache wasn't in my skull. It was in my chest. In my stomach. Something between nausea and dread. I walked the block and a half to my car and just sat there. Parked on the street, seatbelt still on, engine off, staring out at nothing. It's funny how your brain works when you're trying not to see something. For months, I'd been convincing myself things were fine. Just a rough patch, just stress, just the usual ebb and flow of married life. But after what I saw at Melissa's office, the illusion didn't hold up anymore. And once that wall cracked, everything came rushing in. Like water through a dam. I started replaying moments I hadn't thought twice about before. The nights she stayed up working late. The early mornings where she'd sneak into the bathroom with her phone and close the door behind her. The way she used to cuddle into me before bed. Her legs tangled in mine like she couldn't fall asleep unless we were wrapped up together. And how that had slowly disappeared. First she stayed up late. Then she started sleeping in the guest room once or twice a week because she needed to get up early and didn't want to disturb me. Eventually, we were just two people passing each other in the hallway, brushing teeth at opposite ends of the day. There was this one night I remember now, it had to be 3 or 4 months ago. She came home late from what she said was a client dinner. I was half asleep on the couch, watching reruns with a blanket around my shoulders. She smelled like expensive perfume and something else. Not bad, just different. Not hers. Hey, I said, sitting up. How was the dinner? She smiled too quickly. Good. Long. I'm exhausted. She didn't kiss me, just said she needed to shower. That was the first time I remember her taking her phone into the bathroom with her. She used to leave it charging by the front door like it was nothing. Another time, a Saturday in February, I remember I got home early from a guy's trip and surprised her. She wasn't home. Said she'd gone out for a walk. Needed air. I noticed the sheets on our bed had been changed. Not just the top sheet either, the whole set. Pillowcases and all. Melissa doesn't do that randomly. She waits for laundry day. I asked her about it, and she brushed it off like it was nothing. Felt like fresh sheets. Is that a crime? Back then, I believed her. Or more accurately, I wanted to believe her. Because if I didn't, I'd have to start asking questions I wasn't ready for. And now I realized that's what trust is. Isn't it? Not some noble choice. Not an act of grace. It's willful blindness. It's ignoring the alarms in your head because it's easier to stay warm in bed than to walk barefoot through a fire. I didn't trust because she earned it. I trusted because I loved her. and I thought love was enough to keep everything together. I went home that afternoon and walked into the house like I was seeing it for the first time. Melissa wasn't home. She had meetings, supposedly. I looked around, really looked. The coat rack was empty, hers always hanging there. The bedroom was untouched. No coffee mug by the sink. But the fridge, that told a different story. Stacks of cafe takeout containers. Poke bowl, Melissa scribbled on the sides. She used to love cooking. I still remember how proud she was the first time she mastered beef bourguignon. She'd wear that stupid apron that said whisk taker and hum 90s alt-rock while stirring like she was on a cooking show. That woman hadn't cooked in months. Another thing, her jewelry drawer. Practically empty. I thought maybe she was simplifying her style, but now I saw it differently. She wasn't simplifying. She was relocating. I walked into the bathroom and saw something else, a second toothbrush, not hers, not mine. Black handle. Too new. I'd never noticed it before. My stomach dropped. And the phone? Always with her. Always upside down. I'd make a joke, "Who are you texting, the CIA?" and she'd laugh, say I was being ridiculous. And I'd laugh too, pretending I wasn't thinking the same thing. I kept walking around the house, opening drawers, staring at the little signs that now looked like red flags I'd willfully ignored. Birthday cards tucked behind a lamp, unopened. Mine. She used to keep those front and center on the fridge. Our anniversary gift? She gave me a tie. Still in the box, receipt inside. I had spent weeks picking out a framed print of her favorite photographer from Prague, had it custom matted. She looked at it like it was homework. Then there were the conferences. Once a month. 3 for days. Usually over a weekend. She always came back tired, said the meetings went late, the networking was draining. But more than that, she always came home in a different outfit than the one she left in. She'd say she spilled something or she bought something new at the hotel boutique. I never thought to question it. Why would I? I sat on the edge of our bed and tried to take it all in. The shifting habits. The physical distance. The excuses. The new perfume. The new toothbrush. The takeout. The silence. It all made sense now. Every single piece fit. The only thing that didn't make sense was why I'd ignored it for so long. I pulled out my phone and scrolled back through our texts. I looked for affection, for effort. 2 months ago, "Can you pick up almond milk?" Last week, "Working late again. Don't wait up." Yesterday, "Leftovers in the fridge." "No, I miss you." "No, I love you." Nothing that sounded like a wife talking to a husband. Just logistics. Like we were roommates. That was the thing that hurt the most. Not even the idea that she might be cheating, but that she had already emotionally checked out. And I hadn't noticed. Or maybe I had. Maybe I just didn't want to believe it. Because if I did, it meant accepting that I had lost her long before I ever saw her standing next to that man by the coffee machine. And now, looking back, it wasn't that the trust had been broken. It was that the trust had quietly dissolved like sugar in coffee. And I kept drinking, pretending it still tasted the same. I wasn't looking for proof. I need you to understand that. I wasn't on some mission to catch her. I wasn't rifling through drawers or hacking her passwords. I didn't want evidence. Because evidence makes things real, and I wasn't ready for real. At that point, all I had was a growing ache in my chest and 1,000 unanswered questions I didn't want to ask out loud. But sometimes, the truth doesn't wait for you to be ready. It finds you. That Saturday started like any other. Woke up early. Went for a run even though the wind cut through my jacket. Made coffee. The house was quiet. Melissa had left early to meet a client for brunch. She didn't kiss me goodbye. Just yelled something vague about traffic from the hallway and disappeared before I could say anything. I stood there, coffee mug in hand, listening to the silence she left behind. Around noon, I decided to walk to the cafe down the block. Local spot. Real beans. Familiar faces. I'd gone there almost every weekend for the past 5 years, enough times to know the baristas by name and order without speaking. I was waiting for my drink when one of them, Jenna, a college kid with pink streaks in her hair and a nose ring, smiled at me. We'd made small talk over the years. She knew I was married. Knew I always got a medium Americano. She didn't know much else. "Alone today?" she asked, handing me the cup. I raised an eyebrow. "Yeah." Melissa had some work thing. She blinked. "Oh, weird. I just saw her here yesterday. Thought you were with her." I froze. "What?" She laughed awkwardly, sensing the shift in my tone. "Sorry, I just assumed. She was with the guy she's always with. Tall, kinda fancy? We thought you two were a couple." My hand clenched the cup a little too tight. The cardboard crinkled in my palm. "Alex," I said, more to myself than to her. "Yeah, I think that was his name. They seemed close. Cute, even. She paused, clearly realizing this wasn't landing well. Sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. No, it's fine, I said, voice dry. Thanks for the coffee. I stepped outside before she could say anything else. The wind had picked up. My hands were shaking, not from the cold. My brain scrambled for alternatives. Maybe it was a team meeting. Maybe they were brainstorming in a new location. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe. Or maybe not. I sat on a bench across the street and pulled up the cafe's Instagram. They posted daily, drinks, pastries, customers who didn't mind being tagged. I flipped through the stories from the past 24 hours. The first 3 were nothing. New muffin. Latte art. Some dog in a sweater. And then there she was. Story number 4. Melissa. On the patio. Wearing that gray wool coat she only took out for special meetings. Her hair curled. Laughing. Sitting across from him. Alex. His hand resting casually on her knee under the table. Her face tilted toward him, that soft expression she used to save for me. She wasn't pulling away. She wasn't nervous. She looked happy. Relaxed. In asterisk mate. I stared at the video until it disappeared into the next story. Then I went back. Rewatched it. Then again. And again. Each time it felt like a punch to the chest. This wasn't work. This wasn't harmless. This was a relationship. And clearly not a new one. They weren't in the beginning stages, no awkwardness, no hesitation. This was practiced. Comfortable. Familiar. That hand on her knee wasn't a risk. It was routine. And the way she leaned in? That wasn't surprise. That was safety. That was trust. I took a screenshot before the story expired. My thumb hovered over the photo as if touching it would change what I saw. I zoomed in on her face. On the way she was looking at him. Like he was the only one in the world. That used to be my spot. I sat there on that bench for a long time. People walked by. Cars passed. I barely noticed. Just stared at my phone, the image seared into my vision. Part of me hoped I'd imagined it. That maybe I was misinterpreting. But the evidence was right there, time-stamped and public. No room for denial. No space for, it's not what it looks like. Because this was exactly what it looked like. And I don't know what hurt more, the betrayal or the fact that she didn't even bother hiding it. When I got back to the house, everything felt fake. The framed photo of us in Venice, fake. The notes she used to leave in my lunchbox, fake. The magnet from the cabin we rented on our 3rd anniversary, fake. All relics from a life she clearly moved on from. I opened the kitchen drawer where we kept takeout menus. Dozens of them. All places I hadn't eaten from in months. Poke bowls. Ramen. Vegan wraps. Stuff she used to hate, suddenly her favorites. My appetite vanished. I went upstairs, pulled out the box of keepsakes we kept under the bed. Anniversary cards. Birthday notes. Concert stubs. I read one of them, a Valentine's card from 3 years ago. Her handwriting said, I don't know where I'd be without you. You're the safest place I've ever known. I dropped it back into the box. It felt like reading someone else's memory. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in the dark, the phone screen lighting up the room as I stared at the photo, Melissa and Alex. Her eyes closed, smiling. His hand casually resting where it didn't belong. And still, a part of me hoped I was wrong. That she'd come home and explain it all away. That she'd tell me it was work, that it meant nothing, that she hadn't crossed the line. But she didn't come home that night. At 11:24 p.m. I got a text. Staying at the hotel tonight. Too tired to drive back. See you tomorrow. Love you. I didn't respond. I didn't believe her. And now I knew I couldn't afford to. There's a moment after you finally stop denying what's in front of you where everything goes quiet. Not peaceful quiet. More like standing in a soundproof room, hearing only your own heartbeat. No more rationalizing. No more waiting for explanations that won't come. Just silence. That's where I was the next morning. Melissa came home around 8:30 a.m. I heard the front door open, keys jingling like nothing had happened. She dropped her bag in the hallway, kicked off her heels, and started humming something. It was surreal, the casualness of it. Like she hadn't just spent the night in a hotel with another man. Like the life we'd built together wasn't rotting from the inside. I stayed upstairs. I didn't want to see her. I wasn't ready for the lies, or worse, the half-truths dressed up like mercy. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her move around the kitchen. The sound of the coffee grinder, the fridge door, the clink of a spoon in her mug, all of it felt like background noise in a life that no longer belonged to me. I finally got up an hour later. Quietly. I didn't want a confrontation. Not yet. I walked into the bathroom, looked at my reflection, and barely recognized the guy staring back. Eyes sunken. Beard growing uneven. like someone who'd been underwater too long and was just now coming up for air. I showered, dressed, packed a duffel bag with just the basics, a couple shirts, jeans, my running shoes, my laptop charger, left the rest. I didn't want anything that smelled like her. Nothing we picked out together. Not the sweater she said made me look handsome in a rugged way. Not the cologne she gifted me on our 5th anniversary. I wanted a clean break. Downstairs, she was on the phone, probably with Alex, though she called him Tom from accounting when she slipped up a few weeks ago. I walked past her without saying a word. Her head turned slightly, but she didn't stop talking. She just lowered her voice and kept walking toward the dining room. That was it. I grabbed my keys, walked outside, and drove to my brother's place 20 minutes away. He opened the door in pajama pants and a confused squint. "Ethan? I need to stay here for a while," I said. He didn't ask why. Just stepped aside and let me in. We're not the kind of family that talks about emotions easily. We weren't raised that way. But he handed me a beer from the fridge and turned on the game, and that was his way of saying, "You're safe here." That night, I sat on his couch, lights off, only the TV flickering in the background. I stared at my phone, Melissa's text from earlier still unread. "Hey babe, can we do something low-key tonight? Just us." Like nothing was wrong. I didn't respond. I opened my laptop instead and typed in something I never thought I'd search. Emotional affair versus physical affair, legal implications. I scrolled. Read forums, Reddit threads, divorce lawyer blogs. Some states differentiate between the two. Some don't. None of that mattered much to me, honestly. What I was really looking for was permission. Justification. Proof that I wasn't crazy for feeling like everything was falling apart even if she hadn't said the words yet. Even if she still came home, still texted me goodnight, still signed her name with a heart emoji. By midnight, I had found a furnished apartment downtown, short-term lease, no commitment, fully stocked. I booked it for a month. The next morning, I waited until I was sure Melissa was at work. Then I drove home. The house felt unfamiliar. Not in a haunted way. Just cold. Like the soul had been *ket out of it. I walked through the rooms, grabbing only what I needed, not what I wanted. Important documents. My passport. Running gear. My old hard drive. A stack of books she never touched. A few framed photos, but only the ones of me and my family. None with her. Then I wrote a note. Not a letter. Not a manifesto. Just a simple message scrawled on the back of a grocery list I found on the counter. I need space. Don't call. Don't text. Don't explain. I left it on the kitchen table next to her favorite mug. The one that said "Empowered Women Empower Women." I walked out. Didn't look back. And it wasn't just about leaving the house. It was about leaving the version of myself that clung to hope like a lifeline. The version that waited for her to remember me. To choose me. To explain how all of this could still somehow be okay. Because here's the thing I've learned, love doesn't die in one grand explosion. It dies in silence. In the missed calls. In the unanswered "How was your day?" texts. In the moments you start feeling like a stranger in your own life. I knew I wasn't going to stay gone forever. I wasn't going to run and disappear. That's not who I am. But I had to get out before I broke. Before I started begging her for scraps of affection she'd already handed to someone else. I spent the next few days in the apartment getting used to the absence. It was sterile, sure, but clean. Honest. No perfume in the air. No passive-aggressive notes on the fridge. No sense that I was an afterthought in my own home. I woke up early, went on runs, made my own food. The quiet hurt at first. But it was a different kind of pain. Not betrayal, just loneliness. And even loneliness felt better than pretending. Melissa texted me 3 times that week. Once asking if I was okay. Once asking if we could talk. Once saying she missed me. I read them all. Didn't reply to any. Because I wasn't ready to be lied to again. I waited 4 days before going back. Not because I wanted to. Not because I missed her. But because something inside me needed closure, not the dramatic kind, not the shouting match kind. Just clarity. Finality. I needed to look her in the eye and see for myself that the woman I once loved was already gone. The apartment had grown quieter by the day. I slept better than I expected. Ate when I was hungry. Ran most mornings. It was like I'd stepped outside the noise of our marriage and could finally hear myself think again. And what I kept thinking was this. She had already let go. I just hadn't caught up yet. On the 4th evening, I printed the *T of her and Alex at the cafe, the one with his hand on her knee. I slid it into a folder along with a single sheet of paper I hadn't imagined I'd ever need, a draft of divorce proceedings. Nothing binding yet. No lawyer signature. But real enough. I drove to the house like I was headed to a wake. Familiar roads. Familiar turns. But everything felt different. Lighter, maybe? Or maybe I just felt nothing at all. The numbness had crept in like a fog, and I wasn't sure if that was strength or just exhaustion. When I pulled into the driveway, the porch light was on. The kind of domestic detail that used to comfort me. Now it felt like someone else's life. I opened the front door and immediately smelled cinnamon. She was baking. It caught me off guard. She stood in the kitchen, oven mitts on, sliding a pie into the oven like she was prepping for a family holiday. She looked up startled, but covered it quickly. "Ethan," she said, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "You're here." I nodded. Set the folder on the kitchen table. She glanced at it, then at me. "I wasn't sure if you'd ever come back." I didn't answer. She poured 2 glasses of water. Set one in front of me. Then she sat. Her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her sleeve. I could tell she'd rehearsed whatever she was about to say. That alone made me feel tired. "I'm glad you're here," she began. "I've been thinking a lot. About us. About what we become." I stayed quiet. She continued, her voice softer. "I know how things must have looked. But Alex and I were just friends. He was helping me through some work stuff. I've been burned out. Overwhelmed. He's someone I can talk to." I slid the photo across the table. She glanced at it, then looked away. "You misunderstood," she said, her voice wobbling now. "It wasn't what you think. Wasn't it?" I asked. Her shoulders slumped. "Okay. Maybe I got too close. Maybe it blurred lines. But nothing physical happened. Not really. I swear." I leaned back. Let the silence settle. She hated silence. It forced her to sit with herself. She tried again. "You've been distant too, Ethan. You come home and barely talk. You don't notice when I change my hair or when I'm hurting. It feels like we live parallel lives." I let out a quiet breath. "I've been here. Every day. Waiting for you to show up." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "But you did," I said. "And not just once. Not by accident. Over and over. You chose this." Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't feel anything watching them fall. That's how I knew I was done. "I don't want this to end," she said suddenly. "I still love you. We can fix this. Go to therapy. Start over." I looked at the woman across from me and realized she didn't even understand what she'd broken. She thought love could be patched up like drywall. She thought if she cried hard enough, I'd forget what it felt like to be replaced. "This isn't about hating you," I said quietly. "It's about protecting what's left of me." She was sobbing now, head in her hands. "Please don't do this." I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor, a sound that felt final. "I already have." I walked toward the front door. As I reached it, she called after me. "You're really leaving?" I paused. Looked over my shoulder. "You left a long time ago," I said. "I'm just catching up." I closed the door behind me. No slamming. No shouting. Just the soft click of a lock and the cold night waiting outside. Melissa moved out a week later. No tears. No dramatic exit. Just quiet footsteps and the faint sound of cardboard boxes brushing the hallway walls. She didn't say goodbye. Didn't ask me to change my mind again. I think she knew the silence between us said everything louder than words ever could. I walked through the house that night, half expecting to see her coat on the hook or her necklace tangled on the bathroom sink. But the house was stripped clean of her. Like she was never really here at all. The bedroom still smelled like her perfume, citrus and vanilla, something soft. I opened all the windows. Let the cold in. Not because I wanted to freeze her out, but because I needed to feel something real. Something pure. The next few days were strange. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just existed. I made coffee. I ran in the mornings. I sat on the porch and watched the wind shake the trees. Life, in its quietest form, kept going. She texted me once. "Hope you're okay. I'm sorry I ruined us." I read it. Stared at the screen for a long time. Then deleted it. Not out of spite, but because I didn't need her guilt. I didn't want her closure. What I needed was to remember what it felt like to live without waiting for someone to come back. And slowly, I did. A few weeks later, I found a photo in an old shoebox. Melissa and I at the beach, 2018. She's in a sun hat, laughing, pressed against my side. I'm smiling like I don't know how fragile everything is. I didn't throw it away. I put it in the drawer with other old things. Not regrets, just memories. Because not everything has to be burned to be let go of. If someone asked me what I learned, I'd say this. Cheating doesn't begin in a hotel room or over dinner. It begins the moment someone stops choosing you. When they stop seeing you. When they look right through you while smiling at someone else. I don't blame Melissa anymore. I don't hate her, but I also don't miss her. The house is quiet now. Not empty, calm. It breathes with me. I'm learning how to fill it again. With music. With morning runs. With long phone calls to people I forgot I loved. Maybe one day someone else will laugh here again. Maybe not. But if they do, it'll be someone who chooses me every day. And this time, I'll choose myself first.